Third seeding through the Arc of Covenant, the Hebrew, Saras Egyptians, Urites and Priesthood of Ur, races 3-6 and Anu Melchizedek's 800,000 55,000 yeah. For a period of time following the creation of the Ark of the Covenant 840,000 years ago, the Earth went through a period of rebalancing its energetic grid. And during this time the races did not evolve on the planet's surface. Some descendants of the second seeding prospered within the lunar Earth communities, and a few scattered groups had managed to survive within the underground tunnel systems created by those of the second seeding. Most of the human population had fled, finding exile within other planetary systems. The Nephilim had been evacuated to Sirius A, joining remnants of the Draco's race who had found exile with those who became the Anunnaki resistance. About 800,000 years ago, several groups of the now extraterrestrial humans returned to Earth to begin preparation for the third seeding, which would be orchestrated through the Ark of the Covenant portal bridge. Two primary groups of returning humans, descendants of the Saras Egyptians and the Hebrew, Melchizedek Hibiru hybrids, from the second seeding, were commissioned by the Paladorians of HU2, the Elohim and the Ra Confederacy to orchestrate the third seeding. Upon returning to Earth, these groups discovered that there was a small group of survivors remaining from the second seeding, descendants of the third race Lemanians and their Urantrian cloister, the Saras Egyptians, who had been exiled on Sirius B and in the Pleiadian star systems, and thus now carried a stronger ET imprint within their genetic codes interbred with the Lemanians and Urantrians, forming a new guardian race through incarnating souls via the Melchizedek cloister morphogenetic field via the Ark of the Covenant. The new race was called the Urtites. They appeared on Earth about 800,000 years ago and, working with races of the inner Earth and the HU2 Paladorians, the Urtites established the priesthood of Ur on Earth. The Urtites lived primarily underground and within the inner Earth civilizations, serving as guardians of the Ark of the Covenant. When conditions on Earth were conducive to supporting mass surface life, the Urtites were given authority by the HU2 Syrian Council, Ra Confederacy and priests of Ur on Terra, to begin the third seeding of the human lineage. Many subraces and families emerged through the Urtite genetic strain, as each of the 5 cloister races birthed their race line through the Urtite host race. The races were located throughout various regions of the globe, each developing surface cultures from about 750,000 to 75,000 years ago. The Urtite lineage developed divergent cultures extending from what is now known as Africa, through regions of East Asia, North and South America, Central Europe, Egypt and into what is now called Iran. Through development of these diversified cultures, the host race Urtites created a new cradle of civilization through which the root races and their cloisters could be reseeded on Earth. The third seeding of races 3, 4 and 5 began again via the Ark of the Covenant, under the direction and through the lineage of the Urtites. The third race Urantrian cloister began birthing about 75,000 years ago. Their Lemanian root race 73,000 years ago. The Lemanians of the third seeding were called the Lemurians, and they were seated on a landmass that existed in the area now occupied by parts of the Pacific Ocean and also within the region of the Andes Mountains. The Brinawa cloister of the fourth race entered about 72,000 years ago in lands that existed in the area now occupied by parts of the Atlantic Ocean, and into the territories that became known as Egypt, followed by their root race Atlanians 70,000 years ago. The Atlanians of the third seeding became the Atlanteans. The fifth race Hibiru cloister entered through the host matrix of the sixth race Melchizedek cloister into various positions throughout the globe, about 68,000 years ago, followed by their root race Aryans 65,000 years ago. The fifth root race Aryans of the third seeding were called the Aryans. Concentrations of this race were seeded into regions near what is now called the Black Sea and in the area of what became the Carpathian Mountains. The Anu Melchizedeks were seeded into the Atlantean root race Egyptian subrace through the Melchizedek cloister host matrix morphogenetic field about 68,000 years ago. The Anu prospered in Atlantis, many migrating to various parts of the globe and interbreeding with other races. The primary concentration of Anu remained in Atlantis, where open lines of commerce with their Syrian Anunnaki forefathers became a standard way of life. the Anunnaki who had joined the Syrian Council through the Treaty of El Anu, and the Syrian Cantarians and Syrian Blue races of Sirius B, became a primary motivating force within Atlantean culture, and the Pleiadian races of Hu. 1 assisted in the development of Urantrian and Lemurian culture. These cultures thrived under the influence of the advanced stellar races. The Anu Melchizedeks organized their cultures around the spiritual and scientific teachings of the Law of One. Members of the Hibiru cloister and the hybrid Hebrew peoples migrated from other regions to both Atlantis and Lemuria, each bringing with them the teachings of the Law of One, characteristic of the Melchizedek host matrix. As civilization on Earth prospered, the Syrian Council allowed the Atlantean and Lemurian cultures to receive gifts from the advanced stellar races, which rapidly developed the technological aspects of society to heights far exceeding present earthly cultures. The Syrian Blues of Sirius B brought large crystalline power generators to Earth as a gift to the Atlantean and Lemurian cultures. They taught the Urantrians, Lemurians, Anu and Atlanteans how to draw energy directly from the D2 Earth core, and store this energy within the crystal generators. Permission was granted by the Elohim and Ra Confederacy to allow power to be drawn from the blue flame of Amenti through the passageway of the Arc of the Covenant. The power of the blue flame allowed Atlantean civilization to access multidimensional frequency, through which the morphogenetic fields of Earth's matter particles could be directly affected. Earth's gravitational pull could be neutralized. Objects could be manifested and demanifested. Objects could be teleported to desired locations. Bioenergetic healing became a way of life and genetic evolution was accelerated. Using the power of ET technology, the Atlantean and Lemurian cultures thrived. The Anu and Hebrew peoples of the Melchizedek cloister host matrix became the primary Earth guardians of the Ark of the Covenant. The original portal passage to the Ark of the Covenant was located within the landmass of the Atlantean continent, and through this interstellar passageway power was fed through the Earth's grid to the Lemurian continent and various other developing civilizations. Earth civilizations thrived following the Law of One until about 55,000 years ago, when members of the Anunnaki resistance began to infiltrate Atlantean culture, creating genetic and social digression that nearly brought Atlantis to an end.